The sensor screen flickered with data streams that made no sense to Harik. He leaned closer, his three eyes narrowing as he studied the readings from the human patrol vessel drifting past his position. The ship looked ancient by galactic standards. Thick metal plating covered its hull like primitive armor. No elegant energy shields shimmered around it, just cold, dead metal. "Commander, the humans are hailing us," his communications officer announced. Harik waved a clawed hand dismissively. "Put them through." A human face appeared on the view screen. The creature had only two eyes, positioned strangely close together on its flat face. It spoke in the common galactic language with a thick accent. "This is Captain Daniel Ross of the Earth vessel Wanderer. You are approaching restricted Terran space. Please adjust your course to bearing 275. Harik allowed himself a small laugh. "Captain Ross, this is Commander Harik of the Coalition warship Infinite Reach. We are conducting routine patrol operations. Your restricted zone is not recognized by Coalition authority." The human's expression did not change. "Nevertheless, I must insist you alter course." "Or what?" Harik gestured to his tactical officer, who brought up a comparison display. The Infinite Reach massed 3 times the Wanderer's tonnage. Its particle beam arrays could slice through asteroids. Your missiles are no threat to Coalition shield technology. Daniel Ross smiled. It was a strange expression that did not reach his eyes. "I am simply following protocol, Commander. Have a safe journey." The transmission ended. Harik turned to his science officer, a young Vrelian named Torais. Analysis of their weapon systems. Torais brought up holographic displays showing the human ship's armaments. Basic chemical rockets for propulsion, conventional explosive missiles, mass driver cannons that fire solid projectiles. Nothing we have not seen before, Commander. Their technology appears to be at least 500 cycles behind current galactic standard. "Fascinating," Harik muttered. "How did they even achieve faster than light travel with such primitive systems?" "Their hyperspace drives are actually quite sophisticated," Torais admitted. "But their weapons technology is laughably outdated. They still use kinetic energy instead of directed energy beams." The crew shared knowing looks. Every species in the galaxy had abandoned solid projectiles thousands of years ago. Energy shields had made them obsolete. A plasma cannon could melt through armor in seconds. A graviton disruptor could tear apart molecular bonds. But a simple metal slug. Shields absorbed the kinetic energy and dispersed it harmlessly. Harik was about to order a course change when the priority alert sounded. His communication officer's skin changed color, a sign of distress among Vrelians. "Commander, emergency transmission from the neutral zone. Multiple civilian vessels under attack by the Crimson Talon's pirate fleet." Harik's mood shifted instantly. The Crimson Talons were a notorious group of raiders who had been operating in this sector for years. Their leader, a Skelhari named Vrask, commanded a battlecruiser that had destroyed dozens of merchant ships. "How many vessels in distress?" 15 civilian transports, sir. Various species. 2 are human cargo ships." Harik made his decision quickly. "Set course for the neutral zone. Maximum speed. Prepare all weapon systems." The Infinite Reach surged forward, its powerful engines pushing it to .8 light speed. Within minutes, they dropped out of hyperspace near the convoy. The scene was chaos. Merchant vessels scattered in all directions while pirate fighters swarmed around them. The massive form of the Bloodfire, Vrask's battlecruiser, hung in the center like a predator among prey. Its weapons fired in steady bursts, disabling engines and shield generators. "All ships, this is Coalition warship Infinite Reach," Harik broadcast on open channels. "Cease your attack immediately and withdraw." Vrask's response came quickly. His voice was harsh and mocking. "The Coalition has no authority here, Vrelian. This is neutral space. Leave now or join your civilian friends in the debris field." Harik had heard enough. Tactical, engage the bloodfire. All batteries, coordinated fire pattern Delta 7. The Infinite Reach's particle beams lanced out, striking the pirate battlecruiser's shields. Energy crackled and flashed as the two vessels exchanged fire. The coalition ship was more advanced, but the pirates had numbers. 5 cruisers and a dozen fighters began to converge. The battle settled into a familiar pattern. Shields absorbed energy blasts. Power cores fed the weapons and defensive systems. It became a contest of endurance, waiting to see whose generators would fail first. Then 3 more ships dropped out of hyperspace. Harik recognized the lead vessel immediately. The Wanderer, followed by 2 larger human ships, a destroyer and a frigate based on their configuration. "Commander, the human vessels are requesting permission to assist," his communications officer reported. Harik hesitated. His pride bristled at needing help from such primitive technology, but the tactical situation was deteriorating. The pirates had better equipment than intelligence reports suggested. Grant them permission. Assign them to protect the civilian vessels. The human ships moved into formation with practiced precision. They positioned themselves between the convoy and the attacking pirates, their armored hulls facing the threat directly. No energy shields activated because they had none. Vrask's voice came over the open channel again, now directed at the humans. "Foolish apes, your metal coffins will not save you. We have dealt with your kind before. All that armor is useless against plasma fire." Daniel Ross responded calmly. "We are not here to fight you. We are here to protect civilians. Stand down and there will be no further conflict." The pirates laughed. Their weapons locked onto the human vessels, but something strange happened. The human ships began to reposition themselves, moving into a geometric pattern that Harik did not recognize. They spaced themselves exactly 3,000 kilometers apart, forming a triangle. Power readings from the human vessels suddenly spiked. Harik's sensor officer called out in confusion. "Commander, I am detecting massive electromagnetic buildup in the human destroyer. The energy signature is unlike anything in our database." "What kind of weapon system?" Harik demanded. "Unknown, sir. The power core is channeling energy into something in the forward hull. Magnetic field strength is off the scale." The pirates finished their attack run, confident in their numerical advantage. Vrask's battlecruiser led the charge, accelerating directly toward the human formation. Daniel Ross's voice came over the communication channel one last time. His tone was cold and measured, completely different from before. "Relentless, you are weapons free. Show them what we brought." On the human destroyer, hull panels retracted. Something emerged from the ship's interior. It was a massive barrel, at least 50 meters long, crackling with blue electromagnetic energy. The air around it shimmered with heat distortion. Harik stared at the weapon, his 3 eyes wide with confusion. It looked like a primitive mass driver, but the energy readings suggested something far more sophisticated. Whatever it was, the galaxy had never seen anything like it before. The barrel aligned with the bloodsphere. Magnetic coils running its length began to pulse with light, faster and faster, building to a crescendo. Then the railgun fired. There was no flash of light, no beam of energy, no plasma bolt streaking across space, just a tungsten rod, 3 meters long and 30 centimeters wide, accelerating down the electromagnetic barrel at speeds that made physics scream. The projectile left the railgun at 40,000 kilometers per second, a fraction of light speed, fast enough that relativistic effects began to matter, fast enough that targeting computers could barely track it. The distance between the Relentless and the Bloodfire was 12,000 kilometers. The tungsten round crossed that gap in 0.3 seconds. Vrask's shield generators did exactly what they were designed to do. They detected incoming kinetic energy and created an electromagnetic barrier to deflect it. The shields had stopped millions of missiles and projectiles over the years. They were rated to absorb impacts from objects traveling up to 5,000 kilometers per second. The railgun round was traveling 8 times faster than that. The shield flickered into existence for a microsecond. Then the projectile punched through it like it was not even there. The electromagnetic barrier collapsed. Overloaded by kinetic energy, it had never been designed to handle. The tungsten rod hit the Bloodfire's forward armor plating. The armor was good, composed of heat-resistant alloys that could withstand plasma temperatures. It might have stopped a conventional projectile, but this was not conventional. At 40,000 kilometers per second, the tungsten did not need to be sharp. It did not need to explode. Pure kinetic energy was enough. The laws of physics took over. The armor vaporized on contact. The rod kept going. It passed through the forward weapons bay, through the crew quarters, through the engine section, the entire length of the ship in less than 1/10 of a second. A perfectly straight hole appeared from bow to stern. Then the secondary effects began. The kinetic energy transferred to the ship's structure, creating shockwaves that propagated through every deck. Bulkheads buckled. Power conduits ruptured. The reactor containment field destabilized. Vrask had time to realize something was wrong. He saw alerts flooding his console, felt the ship shudder beneath him, opened his mouth to issue orders. The reactor went critical. The Bloodfire exploded from the inside out, tearing itself apart in a ball of white-hot plasma. Debris scattered across 10,000 kilometers of space. Where a battlecruiser had been, only wreckage remained. Complete silence fell across all communication channels. Every ship, pirate and civilian alike, simply stopped and stared at the expanding debris field. Harik felt his blood turn cold. His 3 eyes could not look away from the sensor readings. The Bloodfire had been destroyed in under 5 seconds. A ship that massed 2 million tons, protected by military-grade shields, had been eliminated by a single shot. "What was that?" Torais whispered from the science station. "What kind of weapon does that?" Before Harik could respond, another human voice came over the communications network. This one belonged to the captain of the Steadfast, the human frigate. "Target locked, firing." A second railgun discharge lit up space. This time Harik was watching the sensors carefully. He saw the electromagnetic buildup, the sudden release of energy, the projectile launching at impossible speeds. Another pirate cruiser took the hit. The round penetrated its shields and hull, catastrophic damage spreading through the ship's interior. The vessel went dark, tumbling through space, venting atmosphere. The remaining pirates broke formation. Fear overrode greed and aggression. Their ships scattered in every direction, trying to put distance between themselves and the human vessels. But the humans had planned for this. The Wanderer, which everyone had dismissed as having only conventional weapons, fired a spread of missiles, not at the fleeing pirates but across their escape routes. The missiles did not need to hit. They just needed to force the pirate ships into specific vectors. Vectors where the human railguns had clear shots. The Relentless fired again. This time the round fragmented mid-flight, breaking into 12 smaller projectiles. A railgun shotgun. 3 pirate fighters disintegrated simultaneously. The rest tried to change course, but momentum betrayed them. You cannot turn quickly at .7 light speed. Daniel Ross's voice cut through the chaos. "All pirate vessels, this is your final warning. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Any ship that continues hostile action will be destroyed." 2 pirate cruisers decided to test that threat. They brought their plasma cannons online and targeted the Wanderer. The human ship did not even try to dodge. Its thick armor plating simply absorbed the energy blasts, dissipating the heat across its hull. The Relentless responded. 2 shots, 2 dead cruisers. The remaining pirates surrendered. Their ships went dark, weapons powered down, engines at minimal thrust. The entire engagement had lasted 8 minutes. A fleet that had terrorized the sector for years had been broken in less time than it took to eat a meal. Harik realized his hands were shaking. Around him, his crew sat in stunned silence. They had just witnessed the complete destruction of military doctrine that had stood for thousands of years. Everything they knew about warfare had been rendered obsolete in 8 minutes. His communications officer finally found her voice. "Commander, Captain Ross is requesting to speak with you." "Put him through." Daniel Ross appeared on the view screen again. He looked exactly the same as before. Calm, measured, professional, like he had not just revolutionized galactic warfare. "Commander Harik, the civilian convoy is secure. We have detained the surviving pirates and will transfer them to Coalition custody. Medical teams are assisting the wounded. Do you require any assistance?" Harik struggled to form words. Finally, he managed to ask the question burning in his mind. "What are those weapons?" Daniel's expression remained neutral. "Electromagnetic mass accelerators. We call them railguns." "How long have you had this technology?" "Operational deployment. About 40 years. Research and development goes back further." 40 years. Harik felt sick. For 4 decades, humanity had possessed weapons that could bypass galactic shield technology, and no one had known. Everyone had dismissed them as primitive, laughed at their kinetic weapons, assumed they were backwards. "Why did you hide this?" Harik asked. "Why let everyone believe you were technologically inferior?" Daniel Ross smiled that strange smile again. "We did not hide anything, Commander. We simply let everyone make their own assumptions. You saw our missiles and mass drivers and decided we were primitive. You never asked what else we might have developed." "But your ships," Harik gestured at the sensor displays, "they have no shields. You use armor plating like ancient vessels." "Shields are designed to stop energy weapons," Daniel explained patiently. "But they have limits. So does armor. We chose to invest our resources differently. Heavy armor, massive power cores, and weapons that exploit the weaknesses in galactic defensive systems." Torai spoke up from the science station. "The power signatures we detected earlier. The massive energy cores we thought were inefficient. They were powering the railguns." "Correct," Daniel confirmed. "Electromagnetic acceleration requires enormous amounts of energy. Our power generation technology is quite advanced. It just does not look impressive when you assume we only use it for conventional weapons." Harik felt the weight of that statement. Humanity had studied galactic warfare, identified its patterns and weaknesses, then designed weapons specifically to exploit those weaknesses. While everyone else played by the established rules, humans had changed the entire game. "This changes everything," Harik said quietly. "Yes," Daniel agreed. "It does. The question now is what the galaxy chooses to do with that information. We would prefer cooperation and partnership, but we are prepared for other responses as well." The transmission ended, leaving Harik alone with his thoughts and a crew that would never look at human ships the same way again. Across the galaxy, sensor data from the battle began to propagate through communication networks. Within hours, every major power would know what happened here. The carefully maintained balance of military strength was about to collapse. And humanity had just announced they were players in a game everyone thought they were too primitive to understand. The interrogation room was cold, sterile, and designed to be intimidating. Harik sat on one side of the metal table. Daniel Ross sat on the other, looking completely relaxed. Between them, a holographic display showed sensor recordings of the battle replaying on an endless loop. 20 hours had passed since the engagement. The civilian convoy had been escorted to safety. The captured pirates were in detention cells, and Daniel Ross had agreed to answer questions about human weapons technology. Agreed, not been forced. That detail bothered Harik more than he wanted to admit. "Walk me through it again," Harik said. How does the electromagnetic acceleration work? Daniel leaned forward slightly. The basic principle is simple. You create a series of electromagnetic coils along a barrel. Each coil generates a powerful magnetic field that pulls a conductive projectile forward. As the projectile passes each coil, that coil deactivates and the next one activates. The projectile accelerates continuously until it exits the barrel. And the power requirements? Substantial. Each shot from a destroyer-class railgun requires approximately 200 gigawatts of energy delivered in under 3 seconds. That is why our ships have such large fusion reactors. Torais, who was sitting beside Harik, shook his head in disbelief. 200 gigawatts for a single shot. That is more power than most stations generate in an hour. How do your ships not tear themselves apart from the recoil? Structural reinforcement, Daniel explained. The thick armor plating everyone mocked serves multiple purposes. It protects against enemy fire, yes, but it also provides structural integrity to handle the stress of firing high-velocity projectiles. Our ships are built like fortresses because they need to be. A coalition weapons specialist named Varix joined the conversation. She was a Thelian, a species known for their expertise in military technology. I have studied the sensor data extensively. Your projectiles reached 0.13% of light speed. At those velocities, even a small deviation would cause the round to miss by thousands of kilometers. How do you compensate for targeting drift? Daniel smiled. Predictive algorithms and real-time course correction. The projectile itself contains small maneuvering thrusters and a microcomputer. It can adjust its trajectory during flight based on target movement. Varix sat back, looking stunned. You are telling me that what appeared to be a simple metal slug was actually a guided munition with onboard computing? Appeared to be simple, yes, Daniel agreed. That was intentional. We designed our weapons to look primitive while incorporating advanced technology internally. Camouflage, in a sense. Harik rubbed his temples, feeling a headache forming. And the fragmentation round, the one that destroyed 3 fighters simultaneously. A cluster munition. The main projectile contains 12 subprojectiles held in electromagnetic suspension. At a predetermined distance from the target, the main round releases the cluster. Each subprojectile has independent guidance. Think of it as a railgun shotgun. How many variations have you developed? Varix asked. Daniel's expression became guarded. That information is classified, but I can tell you that what you saw today represents our standard combat load. Nothing experimental, nothing cutting edge. The implications of that statement hung in the air. If railguns were standard equipment, what else had humanity developed? Harik changed his approach. Why kinetic weapons at all? The galaxy abandoned them millennia ago because energy shields made them obsolete. That is exactly why we pursued them, Daniel said. We arrived late to the galactic community. We studied the history of warfare among the stars. We noticed a pattern. Every species developed energy weapons. Every species built energy shields to counter those weapons. The arms race became circular. Better shields, stronger weapons, repeat endlessly. And you saw an opportunity, Harik realized. We saw a gap in defensive doctrine, Daniel corrected. Galactic shields are marvels of engineering. They can absorb and dissipate incredible amounts of energy, but they were never designed to stop physical mass traveling at relativistic speeds. The mathematics just do not work. Kinetic energy at 0.1 light speed is too concentrated, too focused. The shields collapse before they can disperse it. Varix was making notes on her data pad, her expression thoughtful. You exploited a fundamental oversight in galactic military technology. We identified an asymmetric advantage, Daniel said carefully. There is a difference. Torais spoke up. But you still use conventional missiles and mass drivers. Why maintain those systems if railguns are so effective? Layered defense and offense, Daniel explained. Missiles provide saturation capability and area denial. Conventional mass drivers offer sustained fire at medium range. Railguns deliver precision strikes at long range. Each system serves a specific tactical role. We do not rely on a single weapon to solve all problems. Harik leaned forward. How many species know about this technology? As of 6 hours ago, all of them. The battle data has propagated across the galactic communication network. Every military in known space is currently analyzing what happened. Several have already contacted Earth seeking technology sharing agreements. And what is humanity's response? Daniel's expression hardened slightly. We will share some applications through proper diplomatic channels, medical uses of electromagnetic acceleration, industrial applications, but military specifications remain proprietary. We spent 40 years developing this technology. We are not simply giving it away. That will not be popular with certain powers, Harik warned. We are aware. That is why Earth Fleet has been placed on alert status. If anyone tries to take what we are not willing to give, they will discover we have more than just railguns. The casual confidence in that statement made Harik's skin prickle. Daniel was not bluffing. He was simply stating a fact. Varix asked the question Harik was thinking. What else have you developed? I am not at liberty to discuss classified weapon systems, Daniel replied smoothly. But I can say that humanity learned important lessons from Earth's history. We had thousands of years of near-constant warfare before achieving global unity. Every nation, every culture, every civilization on our planet contributed to the art of killing efficiently. When we reached the stars and saw how the galaxy fought, we realized we had knowledge they lacked. Knowledge of violence, Harik said quietly. Knowledge of survival, Daniel corrected. Violence is just one tool. We also learned diplomacy, cooperation, and mutual defense. We prefer those tools. But when someone threatens civilians, when pirates prey on the innocent, when bullies assume weakness, then yes, we know how to apply overwhelming force with precision and efficiency. Harik stood, packing the small room. You have started something that cannot be stopped. Within months, every species will be developing railgun technology. The galactic arms race will accelerate. Not necessarily, Daniel said. Railguns require specific infrastructure, massive power generation, structural reinforcement, targeting systems we spent decades perfecting. Other species can develop similar weapons, but it will take years, possibly decades, to match what we have. In that time, humanity offers an alternative. Which is partnership. We join the Coalition Security Council. We provide defensive capabilities in exchange for full participation in galactic governance. We share our technology gradually, in exchange for access to coalition technology we lack. We build a framework of mutual benefit rather than mutual destruction. Varix looked skeptical. And if the coalition refuses? Daniel met her gaze steadily. Then humanity will maintain its own security independently. We did not seek conflict. We simply refused to be victims. The choice of how to proceed belongs to the galactic community. An alert chimed on Harik's communicator. He read the message and felt his blood run cold. The Krell Dominion has issued a statement. Daniel's expression did not change, and they demand a demonstration of railgun technology to their military observers. They say if humanity refuses, they will consider it an act of economic warfare and respond with sanctions and blockades. The Krell have always been aggressive, Daniel said calmly. They see strength as the only language worth speaking. Very well. If they want a demonstration, we can provide one. Harik stared at him. You would provoke the Krell intentionally. I would educate them about reality, Daniel corrected. The Krell respect strength and despise weakness. Better they learn now in a controlled demonstration than later when they make a mistake they cannot recover from. The communicator chimed again. This time it was a priority alert. Harik read it and felt his heart sink. The Krell fleet is moving toward Bellamy Station, a human outpost on the border. Daniel's expression finally changed. His eyes grew cold, hard. How many ships? 12 warships, including the dreadnought Dominator. Daniel stood smoothly. Then I need to return to my ship. The Krell want a demonstration. We will give them one they will never forget. Sarah Lynn watched the evacuation shuttles launch from Bellamy Station with methodical precision. 15,000 civilians lived on this outpost. She had 4 hours to get as many of them to safety as possible. The mathematics were brutal and simple. "Status update," she said into her communicator, trying to keep her voice calm. 6,000 evacuated so far, her second-in-command reported. "We are maintaining the schedule, but barely." Sarah pulled up the tactical display. The Krell fleet was burning hard toward their position. 12 warships led by Admiral Throck, a commander known for his ruthlessness and pride. The Krell did not negotiate. They did not compromise. They took what they wanted and destroyed anything that stood in their way. Bellamy Station was about to stand in their way. "Keep loading the shuttles," Sarah ordered. "Prioritize children and injured. Everyone else needs to help where they can." The station's defensive weapons were already powered up. Plasma turrets, missile batteries, and point defense lasers. Good equipment for fending off pirates or raiders. Completely inadequate against a full Krell battle fleet. Sarah's console chimed. Incoming transmission from the Krell flagship Dominator. She accepted it, knowing what was coming. Admiral Throck filled the screen. He was massive, even for a Krell. His species evolved on a high-gravity world, making them naturally stronger and more durable than most galactic races. Throck's reputation matched his appearance. Brutal, efficient, and utterly without mercy. "Human Outpost Bellamy, this is Admiral Throck of the Krell Dominion." His voice rumbled like distant thunder. "You possess weapons technology that threatens the balance of galactic power. You will transfer all technical specifications for your electromagnetic accelerators within 1 standard hour. Failure to comply will result in the complete destruction of your station." Sarah met his gaze without flinching. "Admiral Throck, this is Commander Sarah Lynn. We do not negotiate with threats, and we do not surrender our technology to anyone who demands it." Throck's expression shifted to something that might have been amusement. "You have 2 patrol frigates and a civilian station. I have 12 warships. Your defiance is meaningless." "Our response remains the same. We will not comply." "Then you have chosen destruction. I respect courage, even when it is foolish. You have 1 hour to reconsider. After that, I will demonstrate what happens to species that defy the Krell Dominion." The transmission ended. Sarah took a deep breath and opened a channel to the 2 human frigates stationed near the outpost. "Griffin, Valor, this is Station Command. The Krell have issued their ultimatum." The captain of the Griffin responded immediately. "We copy, Commander. We are not running." "Neither am I," Sarah said. "But we need to buy time for the evacuation. Standard delaying tactics. Make them work for every kilometer." "Understood, Griffin out." Sarah turned to her crew. "All personnel not involved in evacuation operations, man your defensive stations. We hold as long as we can." 3 hours passed. The Krell fleet arrived right on schedule, dropping out of hyperspace in a perfect attack formation. Throck's voice came over open channels. "Your hour has expired. Last chance, humans. Surrender your technology or face annihilation." Sarah's response was calm and clear. "We gave you our answer, Admiral. Come and take it if you can." The Krell opened fire. Plasma bolts and particle beams hammered into Bellamy Station's shields. The defensive weapons returned fire, but the difference in firepower was overwhelming. One of the human frigates, the Valor, moved to intercept, positioning itself between the station and the heaviest enemy ships. The frigate's armor took hit after hit, ablating away under sustained bombardment. But it held position, buying precious minutes for more shuttles to launch. "Valor is venting atmosphere," the tactical officer reported. "They are pulling back behind the station." Sarah watched the tactical display with growing desperation. The Krell were methodical, professional, and utterly confident. They had done this 1,000 times before. Overwhelm the defenses, disable the target, then dictate terms. The Griffin fired a spread of missiles that forced 2 Krell cruisers to maneuver defensively. A small victory, but it would not change the outcome. Sarah opened a channel to all shuttles. "This is Station Command. All civilian vessels, jump to hyperspace as soon as you clear the gravity well. Do not wait for escorts, just go." More shuttles launched, their engines burning hard for escape velocity. The Krell largely ignored them, focusing on the military targets. Civilians were beneath their notice. Then something changed. Sarah's sensor officer called out in confusion. "Commander, I am detecting hyperspace ruptures, multiple contacts dropping in above our position." Sarah's heart leaped. She pulled up the sensor data and felt hope surge through her chest. 7 ships materialized from hyperspace in perfect formation. 3 destroyers, 2 heavy cruisers, 1 battleship, and leading them all, the vessel she had been praying would arrive in time. The Defiant, Earthfleet's newest and most powerful warship. The communication channel crackled to life. "Bellamy Station, this is Admiral Daniel Ross aboard the Defiant. Sorry we are late. We brought friends." Throck's transmission cut across all frequencies. "More human ships change nothing. You are still outnumbered." Daniel's response was calm. "Admiral Throck, you issued an ultimatum. Allow me to issue one in return. Power down your weapons and withdraw immediately. This is your only warning." Throck laughed, a deep rumbling sound. "You think 7 ships can stand against 12? Your arrogance will cost you everything." "We are not arrogant," Daniel said quietly. "We are simply better prepared than you realize." The Krell fleet broke formation, accelerating toward the human task force. Sarah watched as the 2 forces closed on each other. The Krell were confident, moving in standard attack patterns that had served them well for centuries. The human ships arranged themselves in a geometric pattern that looked random, but Sarah recognized from training simulations. They were creating overlapping fields of fire, ensuring that every Krell ship would pass through multiple targeting zones. The Defiant's hull began to transform. Armor panels retracted along its flanks, revealing 8 massive railgun batteries. The other human ships followed suit, their own weapons emerging from concealed positions. Sarah had seen the technical specifications for the Defiant. The ship was essentially a flying weapons platform, designed from the keel up to deliver overwhelming kinetic firepower. Every system, every component, everything existed to support the railgun arrays. The Krell closed to optimal firing range and unleashed a devastating salvo. Plasma and particle beams converged on the Defiant from multiple angles. The battleship's shields flared bright as they absorbed the incoming energy. But shields were not humanity's primary defense. The Defiant's armor was 30 meters thick in places, composed of heat-resistant alloys layered with electromagnetic dispersion grids. The energy weapons carved glowing scars across its hull but failed to penetrate to vital systems. Daniel's voice remained steady. "All ships target locks confirmed, firing solution uploaded, weapons free on my mark." Sarah realized she was holding her breath. The Krell were committed now, burning hard toward the human formation, too close to disengage without exposing their vulnerable engine sections. "Mark!" The Defiant fired a full broadside. 8 railgun rounds launched simultaneously, each targeting a different Krell vessel. The electromagnetic discharge lit up space like artificial lightning. The other human ships fired in perfect coordination, their targeting computers linked through quantum communication networks. 14 projectiles crossed the gap between the fleets in under 3 seconds. The Krell shields, designed to stop energy weapons, might as well have been made of paper. 4 Krell ships simply ceased to exist. Direct hits to their reactor cores caused catastrophic failures that vaporized the vessels instantly. 3 more took penetrating hits that disabled their main systems, leaving them tumbling through space. The remaining 5 managed to take only glancing blows, but even those caused severe damage. The Krell formation disintegrated. Ships scattered, trying to gain distance, trying to make sense of what just happened. Throck's voice came over the communication channel again. This time there was no mockery, only shock. What kind of weapons are those? The kind you cannot defend against, Daniel replied. The kind you should have taken seriously when you had the chance. Now, Admiral, you have a choice. Withdraw your fleet immediately, or we will continue this demonstration until none of your ships remain operational. Silence stretched across the communication channels. Sarah could almost feel Throck's internal struggle. The Krell had never retreated. Their entire culture was built on strength and dominance. To flee would be humiliating, but to stay would be suicide. Finally, Throck's voice came through, tight with barely controlled rage. This is not over, humans. The Dominion will remember this. We are counting on it, Daniel said. Make sure you remember accurately. Tell your leaders exactly what happened here. Tell them what happens when you threaten human worlds. The Krell fleet turned and jumped to hyperspace, leaving their damaged ships behind. Sarah watched them go and felt her legs go weak. They had survived. Daniel's voice came through her communicator, warm now instead of cold. Commander Lin, well done holding out. Your evacuation probably saved thousands of lives. Thank you, Admiral, Sarah managed to say. That was one hell of an entrance. We try to be punctual, defiant out. The recording played on every major news network across the galaxy. Admiral Throck's fleet, 12 of the most powerful warships in Krell space, retreating from 7 human vessels. The images were clear and undeniable. Energy weapons hammering uselessly against heavy armor. Railgun rounds punching through shields like they did not exist. The bloodfire exploding. 4 more Krell ships disabled in seconds. It played on loop for 3 days straight. Public reaction split along predictable lines. Smaller species felt relief. Finally, someone had stood up to the Krell and won. Larger powers felt concern. If humanity could defeat the Krell this easily, what else might they be capable of? The Coalition Council called an emergency session. Representatives from 200 species gathered on Vrella Prime, the capital world. The chamber buzzed with overlapping conversations in dozens of languages. Fear, anger, curiosity, hope. Every emotion had a voice. Chancellor Vix called the session to order. She was a Thuranian, a species known for their diplomatic skills and long-term thinking. Her voice cut through the noise. We are here to discuss the human situation. In the past month, Earth has demonstrated military capabilities that exceed our understanding. They possess weapons that bypass our defensive systems. They have defeated pirate fleets and forced the Krell Dominion to withdraw. The question before this council is simple. What do we do about it? Ambassador Kren of the Skelhari stood. His species had lost many ships to the pirates. We should thank them. The Crimson Talons terrorized shipping lanes for years. Human intervention saved countless lives. They also concealed their capabilities, countered Ambassador Vex of the Arction Combine. For 40 years, they let us believe they were primitive. That level of deception suggests dangerous intent. Or strategic patience, said Ambassador Lyra of the Centauri Alliance. Perhaps they waited to reveal their strength until they could defend themselves properly. Given how some powers have responded, can we blame them? Daniel Ross sat in the observer gallery, listening to the debate. He was not officially part of the proceedings, but Chancellor Vix had invited him to attend. The human position was simple. They wanted partnership, not conflict. but they would not be bullied into giving up their security. Harik entered the gallery and sat beside Daniel. The Vrelian commander looked tired. The past few weeks had been hard on him. "How is the council leaning?" Harik asked quietly. "Split," Daniel replied. "The smaller species want us involved. They see our weapons as a way to level the playing field. The larger powers are divided. Some want cooperation, others want containment." And the Krell? Radio silence since Bellamy Station, but intelligence suggests they are mobilizing their fleet. Whether for defense or offense, we cannot tell yet. Harik shook his head. This could spiral into open warfare very quickly. "That is why we need a framework," Daniel said. "Clear rules, mutual understanding. The alternative is chaos." On the council floor, Chancellor Vix was proposing exactly that. "I suggest we invite Earth to join the Coalition Security Council. They would have full voting rights on military matters and access to our collective defense agreements. In exchange, they would provide defensive capabilities and share certain technologies through controlled channels." The debate erupted again. Some species supported the idea immediately. Others demanded restrictions on human weapons development. A few wanted humanity barred from the council entirely. Daniel watched it all play out with detached interest. This was politics, and politics moved slowly, but events were moving quickly. His communicator vibrated. A message from Earth Fleet Command, encrypted Priority 1. He opened it and felt his stomach drop. Krell fleet movements detected. 25 warships including 3 dreadnoughts converging on the border zone. Estimated time to Terran space, 48 hours. Daniel stood and made his way to the council floor. Chancellor Vix saw him approaching and paused the debate. "Admiral Ross, you have something to add." Daniel addressed the entire assembly. "Chancellor, honored delegates, I have just received intelligence that a Krell fleet of 25 warships is moving toward human space. They will arrive in less than 2 days. I need to return to my command immediately." The chamber erupted in noise. Chancellor Vix struggled to restore order. Finally, she succeeded and turned to the Krell ambassador. "Ambassador Throck, can you explain this fleet movement?" Throck stood slowly. He was the admiral's nephew and shared the family reputation for bluntness. "The Dominion does not explain its military deployments to the Council. Our ships move where we choose, even if those movements risk open warfare." "The humans humiliated our fleet," Throck said flatly. "They destroyed our ships and forced Admiral Throck to retreat. This cannot stand. The Dominion demands either technology transfer or reparations for the vessels lost." "Your ships attacked a civilian station," Daniel said coldly. "We defended ourselves. You want reparations. Bill your admiral for poor tactical decisions." Throck's face darkened with rage, but before he could respond, Ambassador Lyra stood. "I propose immediate mediation," she said. "Both sides agree to a cooling-off period. Human ships hold position. Krell ships halt their advance. We negotiate a settlement before this escalates further." "The Centauri have no authority over Krell military operations," Throck growled. "But the Council does," Chancellor Vix said firmly. "Under Article 12 of the Coalition Charter, this body can intervene in conflicts that threaten galactic stability. Ambassador Throck, I am calling for a vote. All in favor of ordering both fleets to stand down while negotiations proceed." The vote was nearly unanimous. Only the Krell and 2 of their client species voted against it. The resolution passed. Throck stood rigid with barely controlled fury. "The Dominion does not recognize this authority." "Then the Dominion places itself outside coalition protection," Chancellor Vix said. "All trade agreements, all diplomatic relations, all mutual defense pacts would be suspended. Is that truly what your government wants?" Silence fell across the chamber. Everyone understood what was happening. The Council was drawing a line: stand down or face isolation. Throck's communicator chirped. He read the message and his expression shifted. After a long moment he spoke. The Krell fleet will halt its advance pending further discussions, but we demand direct negotiations with Earth. No mediators, no interference. Daniel nodded slowly. Earth accepts. We will send a delegation. Not a delegation, Throck said. You, the admiral who defeated our ships, face-to-face negotiations with Admiral Throck himself. Daniel met the Krell's gaze steadily. When and where? Neutral Station Terminus 7, 3 days, come alone. I will be there. Throck turned and left the chamber. Several other ambassadors followed, the council session descending into chaos again. Harik grabbed Daniel's arm. You cannot go alone to meet with the Krell. It could be a trap. Probably is, Daniel agreed. But if I refuse, they have an excuse to continue their advance. At least this buys us time. Time for what? Daniel smiled grimly. Time for Earth Fleet to position our newest ships along the border. Time for our engineers to install railgun batteries on Bellamy Station. Time for the rest of the galaxy to decide whether they want to help maintain peace or watch the Krell start a war they cannot win. You think you can defeat 25 warships? I think the Krell need to understand something fundamental about humanity, Daniel said. We do not bluff. If they push us, we will push back harder. If they start a war, we will finish it. But we would prefer not to. That is what I am going to explain to Admiral Throck. Chancellor Vix approached them. Admiral Ross, the Council will support diplomatic efforts, but if negotiations fail, what happens? Daniel considered his answer carefully. Then the galaxy learns whether railguns were our only surprise, Chancellor, and I very much hope it does not come to that. He left the chamber and headed for his ship. 3 days until the meeting. 3 days to prepare for a conversation that could determine whether humanity's introduction to galactic politics ended in partnership or bloodshed. Either way, the galaxy was about to learn that humans did not scare easily. They had survived ice ages, plagues, world wars, and nuclear standoffs. They had clawed their way from caves to the stars through sheer stubborn refusal to give up. One aggressive alien empire was not going to change that. Terminus 7 was exactly the kind of place where dangerous negotiations happened. A free-floating station in neutral space, owned by no one, regulated by everyone. Pirates used it to fence stolen goods. Smugglers used it to move contraband. Diplomats used it when they needed somewhere that official channels could not reach. Daniel Ross walked through the docking bay alone. His security team had wanted to come, but the agreement was clear. No weapons, no guards, just 2 commanders talking. Admiral Throck waited in a private meeting room. He was even larger in person than on the view screen. Easily 3 meters tall, with muscle mass that came from evolving on a world with twice Earth's gravity. Scars crossed his face and arms, each one a story of battles survived. Admiral Ross, Throck's voice rumbled, "You came." "I said I would," Daniel replied, taking the seat across from him. They sat in silence for a moment, 2 predators sizing each other up. Finally, Throck spoke. "My nephew tells me the Council voted to censure the Dominion, to threaten us with isolation if we do not back down. The Council voted to prevent a war. By taking your side. By recognizing that attacking a civilian station was wrong," Daniel corrected. "Your ships fired first, Admiral. We simply responded." Throck slammed his fist on the table. The metal dented under the impact. "You humiliated my fleet, made the Krell look weak. That cannot be allowed to stand." Daniel did not flinch. "What did you expect? You threatened 15,000 civilians. You demanded we surrender our technology at gunpoint. Did you really think we would just comply?" "Yes," Throck said bluntly. "Every species complies when the Krell make demands. It is the natural order, the strong take, the weak surrender." "Then you fundamentally misunderstand humanity." Throck leaned forward, Explain. Daniel took a breath, choosing his words carefully. On Earth, we have a saying. The only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. We spent thousands of years learning that lesson. Empires rose and fell. Tyrants conquered and were eventually defeated. Every time someone decided they were strong enough to take whatever they wanted, eventually they met someone who refused to accept that worldview. You think the Krell are evil. I think you have been strong for so long that you have forgotten what it is like to face an equal, Daniel said. You see smaller species as prey, weaker ships as targets. You have built an entire culture around domination because no one has been able to stop you. Until you. Until us, Daniel agreed. We are not stronger than you, Admiral. Ship for ship, your vessels probably outmass ours, but we are smarter about how we fight. We studied your tactics. We identified your weaknesses. We built weapons specifically designed to exploit those weaknesses. That is not superiority. That is preparation. Throck sat back, his expression thoughtful. You are different from other species. When we threaten them, they negotiate. They offer concessions. They try to appease us. You just shot back. Because appeasement does not work with bullies, Daniel said. It just teaches them that threats are effective. Better to draw a line immediately and make the consequences clear. And if we cross that line? Daniel met his gaze without wavering. Then we go to war. And I promise you, Admiral, it will be a war unlike anything the Krell have experienced. We will not fight for territory or resources. We will fight for survival. And humans are very, very good at surviving. Silence stretched between them. Throck stared at Daniel with his deep-set eyes, and Daniel stared back. Two military commanders who understood violence and its consequences. Finally, Throck spoke. The Dominion cannot accept defeat without consequences. Our culture does not permit it. Then reframe it, Daniel suggested. You did not lose, you achieved your objective. What objective? You wanted to see what human weapons could do. We showed you. You wanted to test our resolve. We demonstrated it. You gathered intelligence about a potential threat. Mission accomplished. Return to your government and tell them the truth. Humans are not primitive. They are not easy prey. But they are also not conquerors. We defend what is ours. We protect our allies. Beyond that, we have no territorial ambitions in Krell space. Throck considered this. A face-saving narrative. A truthful narrative, Daniel corrected. You came to assess a threat. You did. Now you can advise your government on how to proceed. War would be costly for both sides, but cooperation could be beneficial. Human technology in exchange for Krell resources. Trade agreements instead of conflicts. Mutual respect instead of mutual destruction. The Krell do not trade with species we consider inferior. Then consider us equals, Daniel said simply. You saw what our weapons can do. You know we can defend ourselves. The only question is whether we do it as rivals or partners. Throck stood and walked to the window overlooking the docking bay. His massive frame filled the viewport. After a long moment, he turned back. I will take your proposal to the Council of Elders. I cannot promise they will accept it. I am not asking for promises, just honest communication. And if they choose war, then Earth Fleet will be ready, Daniel said. But I hope it does not come to that. There are real threats in the galaxy. Pirates, slavers, species that prey on the weak. The Krell and humanity both have strength. Better to use it protecting others than destroying each other. Throck extended his hand, a human gesture he had clearly researched. You are an unusual human, Admiral Ross. Daniel shook it, feeling the massive strength in Throck's grip. You are more thoughtful than your reputation suggests, Admiral Throck. Do not tell anyone, Throck said, something that might have been humor in his voice. It would ruin my image. 2 weeks later, the results became clear. The Krell fleet withdrew from human borders. The Dominion opened trade negotiations with Earth. And most importantly, the Coalition Council voted to grant humanity full membership, including a seat on the Security Council. Daniel stood in the Grand Assembly chamber as Chancellor Vix made it official. The Coalition recognizes Earth as a full partner in maintaining galactic security and prosperity. Welcome, humanity, to the community of worlds. The applause was not universal. Some species still harbored concerns, but enough supported the decision that it passed with a solid majority. Harik found Daniel after the ceremony. Congratulations, Admiral. You have achieved what seemed impossible. Humanity goes from unknown to Security Council in less than a year. We had good teachers, Daniel said. The galaxy showed us what worked and what did not. We just applied those lessons. And the Railguns, will you share the technology now? Gradually, through proper channels with appropriate safeguards, Daniel replied. We are not trying to maintain a monopoly, but we are also not going to flood the galaxy with weapons that could destabilize everything. Controlled proliferation, mutual benefit. Sarah Lynn approached, now promoted to oversee joint human coalition training programs. The first exchange officers arrive next week. 10 species want to learn human tactical doctrine. And we will learn from them, Daniel said. Every species has something to teach. The Thelians understand energy shields better than anyone. The Vrelians have centuries of combat experience. Even the Krell have valuable knowledge about fleet operations. We take the best from everyone and build something better together. That evening, Daniel returned to Earth for the first time in months. He stood in the observation deck of Fleet Headquarters, looking up at the stars. Somewhere out there, human ships patrolled alongside coalition vessels. Engineers worked on hybrid designs that combined multiple technologies. Diplomats negotiated agreements that would shape the next century. Amy Warren joined him at the window. She had been promoted to instructor at the new Tactical Academy. Penny for your thoughts, Admiral. Just thinking about how far we have come, Daniel said. 6 months ago, everyone thought we were primitive. Now we are shaping galactic policy. Because you were smart about it, you did not try to conquer, you did not try to dominate, you just refused to be victims. That is all we have ever done, Daniel agreed. Survive, adapt, move forward. It worked on Earth. Turns out it works in space too. What happens next? Daniel smiled. We keep doing what humans do best. We innovate, we cooperate, we find problems and solve them. The galaxy has challenges we can help with, and they have knowledge we can learn from. Together, we might actually build something lasting. Think the Railguns changed everything. The Railguns got their attention, Daniel said. But what really changed everything was showing them we could be partners instead of threats. The weapons proved we were not weak. The diplomacy proved we were not conquerors. That combination is what made the difference. Amy looked out at the stars. To new partnerships then. To new partnerships, Daniel agreed. And to humanity finally finding its place among the stars, not as primitives, not as conquerors, just as equals who refused to accept limitations. The galaxy had believed humans had nothing to offer but outdated technology and primitive thinking. The moment they truly looked, they saw potential for genuine partnership forged in mutual respect and shared strength. And everything changed.